twice.
Well, yeah, technically.
Close enough.
Technically.
Close
Yes.
enough.
I appreciate playing with you and playing through it. I know it's super late. We don't have to do a wrap up right now if you don't want to, but I can also tell you what's going on timeline wise or whatever you want. If you have other questions, I can do all that stuff.
Yeah, I
Sick.
can stick
I'll
around
be
for a
here.
little bit, for like
Alright.
10 minutes, but then I'm gonna dip 'cause it's so late.
All right, so first let me make this brighter.
Let there be light.
Any specific questions before we
Who
move?
killed?
Yeah, who killed her?
Definitely Bisk. Definitely
Okay.
Bisk.
Okay, cool.
So she's dead.
She is dead, yeah.
I had a theory that she was actually alive impersonating someone and she just wanted to disappear for some reason.
Yeah. That's a good thought that I hadn't thought of, but so all these ideas
That would be
everything
such a
that
plot
happened-
twist.
Oh, that would be so good. But unfortunately, everything that happened, I thought of individually, and I was like, "Oh, what about this? Okay, cool. What about this? What about this?" And that was years ago, and I was like, "Oh, well, we should do this. We should do this." And so then when I came to like make it a real thing, I just wove them all together and hoped it would work, and I got lucky. Basically, is all that happened. So the
Okay.
major good plot twists I didn't do because I'm not that smart.
No, but that was good.
It was.
Whatever lucky thing happened that you're mentioning turned out real good.
Win.
Well, everything. I think
Oh, okay.
the plot was pretty intriguing, and yeah, I was dying to know what the fuck was happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so when speaking of lucky things, for example, way over here where the king's house is, right?
Yep.
Itro's character Bramwell witnessed a fight, right, between Camelo and between some random dude, and it was very brutal, and he killed him at the end of it, right? But the sigil is not supposed to be that way, and so there were tons of things like this where I was trying to tell you, look at this. So he kills him, and nobody bats an eye because there are no guards or anything over here, right? And that was just before the sigil started, just before the ceremony,
I wasn't
which
here.
makes sense because of where we're standing. If Bisk had just walked down, he would have sent away all of the guards, and he would have changed himself into Iatudi, and he would have walked downstairs so that as few people saw him as possible, right? So this murder occurred because Bisk was down already.
Yeah, sure.
That's crazy. I didn't even plan that junk because I didn't know where you could go down until like the third session or something. I was like, oh snap, I got to put this in, right? So there was no underneath. I just knew it happened underneath. I just didn't know where it occurred, you know? So I was like, oh snap, this is so perfect. I'll just put it right here and it'll all work out.
All right, I do have a second question. If
Okay. Yeah.
someone.
Go for
Okay.
it.
So, what the hell was going on with that door?
With the door?
Yeah, the random door.
The door it was supposed to lead you to the rock guys, which it did, but it didn't lead you far enough. I really thought you might be madder about being pranked or being hit or something, but this was just supposed to lead you to the rock guys because none of these people are made of rocks.
Oh.
When you met them originally and they stank, or you met that one who had been attacked or whatever and they stank, and these guys all stink and stuff, it's because there's goblins living inside who have to poop and pee and eat inside the rocks. But you never investigated the one that you met originally, and none of you hurt or killed any of these, so I couldn't, like, they laughed not as the rock voices, like they laughed in giggles like goblins, and they were slapping each other like goblins.
I thought they were possessed by ghosts. I thought ghosts were possessing the rocks or something.
because
I did kill a bunch of them, but I just didn't go and look. I just exploded a bunch of them in my Wow, so I just murdered a shit ton of goblins.
Yeah. So the idea was that Bisk would attempt an overthrow of the government in the way that it should occur, which is by showing that he has the ability to bring enough influence,
Force.
right? So he's able to not only be militaristic, but he's also able to say, like, look, my influence is far reaching with the House of Rope, who is a merchant and shipping house, and we have all these connections. We should be the leaders of this kingdom. So what he did was he made an agreement with the goblins and with the elves to give them more influence over their area and space and to fund them and all of that stuff, which is why they had the elven like exchange program or whatever. They're working together, right? But he needed to make sure that it seemed like he had enough influence. So he had a bunch of goblins pretend to be rock people in order to make it look like he had double the amount of houses. Plus, he made deals with the pigeon people who are outside in order to come in and say, hey, you're from the outside, you know, and I know that, and I know you're threatening us. And he was going to use that in a discussion if it came up, but it never came up. So he basically seeded this entire place with a bunch of people loyal to him in order to say, hey, I'm going to take over.
How did he convince the pigeon people?
He's going to, or he was going to allow them to have a foothold on this continent.
I guess to search for the one true seagull.
Right. Well, he just made an agreement to give them sort of leniency because they are threatening, right? They are coming from the outside. The darkness that the fortune teller would see on the horizon and everything is invaders from another continent. So in order to get us to the other continent, we need to take ships, right? So the thought is if we do another campaign in a month or 2 months or whenever, right? The idea would be I'll put 2 people together on a ship, hopefully a fortune teller and a captain or something like that. You just play your own character. You don't have to play multiple characters because I think that's too much, but it was interesting. And explore the ocean, and then once you've explored the ocean and, you know, gone through battles or whatever, move into the other continent, because that is a good, I think, way to learn more about the people who might be invading, is to go over there and do intrigue.
Okay.
It might not work. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of intrigue, I realized like 2 days ago, this is literally Cloak and Dagger. Like literally, because the dagger makes you look like someone else. That's intrigue. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so good. But unfortunately, we didn't get it. Yeah. You don't
Cloak and Dagger as in what?
It's like a statement that means like subtlety and intrigue and plot, behind the scenes stuff. We just call it Cloak and Dagger.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I'm gonna
have to head off now.
All right. Cool.
So thanks everyone.
Bye.
A lot of fun.
Have a good one.
Bye.
What was it? I was gonna ask something. Shoot, I forgot.
That's cool.
I did that a minute ago as well, so.
My guess is about the tattooed people. No? Okay.
No, I was gonna ask about the rock people. It's good that you segued into that. Yeah, cool. that was it. Coolio.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say what I wanted to do that one time that I never got to do because I couldn't come to the session where everyone went down the hole. So I always had this plan that I could. Well, it's part of the parrot people, right?
Right.
Or not parrot people, the parrots. That they could always fly away, right?
Right.
When I wanted to abandon ship in this session, it was basically just abandon the body and fly away.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to do. Like, it was my last resort. Lotus saw everyone coming towards him. They were all aggressive. He couldn't win this fight, so abandon ship and just stab himself in the heart, confuse everyone, and fly away.
It makes sense.
Yeah, that would have been dope. Speaking of, go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's just the last thing. One thing that I wanted to do, and I could always do, is the reason the ship had so many shackles and things wasn't because they were like trading on slaves or trading slaves or anything. Was because if the parrots wanted to fly away or basically remove themselves from the host, they would need to shackle the host, otherwise they would wake up and leave. So what I wanted to do is ask someone to hold my body, or the captain's body, while the parrot flew in the hole and did reconnaissance from a safe distance.
Yo, there's no way that would have been okay, because they would have been...
I would have loved to do that, because that would be so hilarious. The body would wake up and be like, where the fuck am I? Where am I?
Right, exactly.
That would have been beautiful.
So on that, remember, Iker, you don't know, but I asked several people to play their characters differently if something happened, right? In between session 1, I think it's session 2, or maybe 2 and 3, but the cookies fiasco. If you had all succumbed to the cookies instead of the House of Note, what would have happened is you would have been taken over here to this back room and tied up and separated. So 2 of you would be in a room and 3 of you would be in the room, and you would be interrogated by members of your own party. But in reality, they would be people who had stabbed themselves with the dagger. And so, like, it would be say Ricky and Lenny and we'll say Gerald being interrogated by Loro, but Loro wouldn't speak with his parrot because they wouldn't be able to do that. They wouldn't even have a parrot. And then also it would just, like, he wouldn't have all the information. He would just be like, here's what I need to know. Tell me your information, and that sort of thing. And then we would swap it so that the other people would be interrogated by Lenny, for example.
Wow.
But it never happened because you did not all eat cookies, so there was no way for that to occur. This way over here is where a glom works. A glom is something that Fair met in the forest. It's a frog entity that wears a big cloak in order to sort of hide itself, but it is a soul taker, just like the coggers, but I didn't know that that's what the coggers did when he started, right? So what I thought would happen is, like, you guys might have a fight and then maybe 1 or 2 of you would die, right? And so what I thought would happen is Shoalgath and a glom would both approach, and it would be like, make a deal with Shoalgath or be taken by the glom if it can get to you in time, and then your soul would sit in a bottle just like normal.
Oh. Okay.
Crazy.
Yep, that was one of the cloaked figures, and I hope to get you over there. It's sort of like a side thing or whatever, because in here there's a trap that would put you in a box, like tiny versions of yourself. So I figured if you didn't all fall for it, some of you would have to pick up the box and take it somewhere, right? And you just rattle around the small people on the inside while you carried the box, and so they would have to, like, resist and fight the bottles rolling around or whatever while you carried the box. I thought that would be cool, but never happened either.
All right.
And
I know you don't know this. Well, you can't. But coming from the perspective of someone that knows absolutely nothing from this mystery, it has been wild. Like, I thought of so many things I can't remember right now that could have been happening.
Yeah.
I don't even know, man. I have a little bit of some notes that I made on the Discord that that I am myself, like by myself, and I have a lot of copy and paste from letters and lists of houses that I had notes on.
Yeah,
it's been wild.
So because I cobbled it all together, I feel like it didn't seem like it was even solvable. Did that seem like it was occurring, or did it seem like?
No, I thought there was something that I was missing, that I was just not fortunate enough to have that information. And when he said that everyone had a little bit of relevant information from their backstories, I thought that maybe we had to somehow share every experience and try to come up with a solution. However, I ended up playing as Lotto for most of the time, and he does not do the thinking. So I just thought that it was a missed opportunity.
Well,
for me, right?
On that info, everybody received info at the beginning of like stuff, like world knowledge that they would be involved with. Everyone else knows that parrots are bad omens, and that you should stay away from parrots, and they bring ill fortune and all of that stuff, because that's what kids tell people, right? Or that's what people tell their kids, like, hey, if you're not good, you're gonna get taken by a parrot or something.
By a parrot.
Honk. What's up, Shelter?
So that was the information they got?
Well, they got a bunch of random information.
Okay.
What the initial thing I thought would happen, and I guess it's just not how you would play the game, is I thought you would all recruit people. Like, this is a space where you're supposed to make deals with people and make connections and stuff. So what I thought would happen is you would be like, okay, well, I'm a pirate, so I need lumber for repairs and sailcloth for repairs and all that stuff. So I'm going to seek out those houses and make deals with them. And then at this final thing, you would have all these people behind you ready to go. Or during fights, you would be able to bring other people, but none of that ever happened.
It's kind of hard making random allies when there's like a murder mystery going on and you can't trust anybody.
True.
Yeah. That's true.
I even thought at one point that you had DM'd one player, and we didn't know, and that player was evil. I don't know. I just thought of it. What if you secretly recruited one of the players to be a villain?
Yeah,
and I was thinking, like, damn, that could happen. I can't trust even with my own colleagues.
That's a good idea, though.
It is.
Well, I know I told you personally that the king was designed for Itro. The king's mechanic is that because he's casting the spell the entire time, he has to stay awake the entire time. So every day that the game went on, I gave him a -1 over and over and over. So here we're sitting at the king with -7, right?
Okay. Yep.
The king started over 30, so the only way Itro was ever going to kill him is if they waited, because I thought personally he would attack the king immediately, just like Loro did at the end. He had this character in our last adventure. Remember that guy, the monk, the naked monk who started with R? I can't remember his name, but he was just like a loose cannon, and he would attack people, and I was like, oh, he's gonna attack the king for sure in this campaign. Like, no doubt.
He's gonna go full murder hobo.
And so the possibilities that I thought for the end would be you kill the king, or you side with Bisk, or you side with Iatudi, or you just do nothing, because even if you do nothing, either someone kills the king or the king releases the dome eventually, or something, right? I did not expect attacking the king with Bisk standing right next to him at the end, though. I didn't see any of this junk coming.
Yeah. Well, I thought that Loto was emboldened by the vision.
Yeah.
Since, if that's gonna happen, then he can do anything he wants. So he wants to go to the treasure right now. So he was like, okay, the king is making the barrier. I saw it in my vision. All right, I've got to kill him.
That is
but
true.
Then it didn't turn out.
Interesting, yeah.
I was gonna ask, is there a reason there was so much treasure on the ship you had to bring in and build?
Yeah, why'd you?
For deals. It's for deals.
Yeah, it's for deals.
No real deals with the pirates go through the whole process. It's all like under the rug and all shady deals. So it has to be like money, straight up money.
That's another thing I thought you would do. I thought during the House of Note fight, when there were so many people, I thought you would run to the ship. So I was like, he's going to use the cannons. He's going to use the cannons. But we never used the cannons either. I was like, he's going to
I don't think the cannons could aim this low, though.
Yeah, probably not.
On a real ship, yeah.
I had to make sure you couldn't hit the king, though, because I was like, well, you just ended the campaign really early.
That would be nice. Just a bunch of cannonballs to the face.
Just for clarification, and again, I was like, oh, wow, this is so lucky. The timeline looks like this. Bisk goes, he sends all the guards away. He goes down looking as Iatudi. Lance follows because she sees her brother going down this like random hole. That's super weird, right? So she heads down, she follows. She finds him up at the top of the scaffolding, attempting to call in the troops, right? But he hasn't done it yet. So she starts his argument. He starts arguing back. She realizes, this is not my brother. The person I'm talking to doesn't speak right. So once she figures it out, she goes on guard. He has no other option except to pull the weapon that he has and stab her, right? So he stabs her, and then his original goal was to bring in the forces in order to supplement what he already has. There's a special place that's already set up where he can summon from using the monolith. He's not strong enough by himself. So after he stabs the princess, he's like, oh, shoot, well, that sucks. But because Bisk is a planner, he's like, okay, well, I'll just bide my time and we'll do it at some other time, maybe the next sigil or something like that, right? But the king locks everyone in, and there's no way to get out. And so then Bisk is screwed because he can't get out, so he has to keep playing his part. And he's like, well, I can't summon in a bunch of people because we're surrounded by military at this point. There's a bunch of people all rolling around outside. If I go against the king, he'll just stop the spell. Everyone will come in and I'll be outnumbered. But a bunch of magic brings a dragon. The dragon decimates everything.
That's what happened.
Right, yeah. So the sword is basically leaking magic out of the monolith, and that's why the magic started going wild, is because it was just filling it. Just like it was filled with smoke, it was filled with random magic as well. Because he was constantly casting and using the monolith over and 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 over, right? So the dragon appears, it lays waste to the outside. Then Bisk is like, okay, well, now we're good. I just got to get everything in line again, and I'll bring in enough forces to overthrow the king in a different way. Instead of just being like, oh, we're all here or whatever, we'll be like, king, you're out of control, you're mad, I'm going to take over the House of Rope, whatever. So he decides, all right, well, now's the time. Let's go down underneath, but you're standing there. So he's like, oh, shoot, there's more people. No one can leave this room who knows what's happening, so they were always going to kill you. And then he starts summoning in his people. He doesn't wait long enough. He kills one of them, all that stuff. And then you meet, because I didn't know you were going to blow everything up, Shoal Gath has to come into play to give you the option. Yeah.
There was one point that I wanted to investigate. I think it was the House of Glass, and you panicked. So I ended up not investigating it. What was that about?
The House of Glass.
I think it was House of Glass.
So I have character sheets that indicate like who's involved. House of Glass is involved, but I can't even remember who they are.
House of Glass, it says here, information gathering, including outside the Empire. It is an Empire-backed house.
Yeah, so they would have just had information about the pigeon people. But I unfortunately I don't remember the panic, so I don't remember why I was panicking. My bad.
I don't know.
It might have just been me not being prepared.
Oh, that could very well be it. Okay.
Yeah. I realized as I started, we were meeting all these people. I was like, dang, there's so many people here. And I had initially thought, I'm just going to make character sheets for all of them, have them all statted out, whatever. And then I thought, no, that's a big waste of time. I should work on the map, and I should work on the individual like stories and all that stuff. And then if they meet these people, then I'll just stat them out real quick. So that's what I did. All the key players have stats, but even the Flayer you met, if you had attacked him, I would have been like, well, I got to get some stats for him real quick. Because that guy didn't have any stats, I didn't know you were going to go there. The fortune teller doesn't have any stats yet.
Imagine if I try to kill the old lady for some reason.
That would be, you could probably do it. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is an old lady.
Yeah.
I think.
Maybe.
I thought someone was an old lady too, and then they were an assassin. So.
Oh yeah. So that person was always an assassin, which is really funny, because I was just trying to introduce people to other people, and I was like, well, if anything happens, then maybe they'll be on your side, and then. Because you were looking into something that they were involved in, specifically their house, because they're so good at it, was used to pretend to be Bisk while Bisk isn't there, right? He set it up so that they would be there at his beck and call, and he could send them on missions and have them assassinate people who were making too much noise and all that stuff. You were like, hey, we're going to do all this research, or we're going to look up stuff at the House of Note. And they were like, what do you mean? Why? And so when she walks up, she's got 2 baskets of cookies, and she's like, what are you going to do? And you're like, we're going to do investigations. And she was like, well, poison cookies for you then. Open that basket instead of the other one,
Yeah.
That was awesome, though.
Yeah, that was
What
good.
about the porters that were disappearing?
Yeah, so they were going a couple places. The Glom was taking people just to fund his business, because he can't get stores and souls and stuff. Also, the spider people that we never met, they house spiders within their body, sort of as like a ritual or whatever. But over time, there was nothing they could do to stop them, I guess. So I was gonna do like the mummy in the sand or whatever, how it has the face or whatever. I was gonna have millions of spiders in one corner, and you were basically gonna have to fight this spider being that had consumed the bodies of its hosts and was now just millions of spiders. Exactly. I thought, oh, well, if they had the goblins to help them, the goblins would just come in and be like, wah! And throw fire everywhere. But
or just Loro.
Yeah, Loro could do it too. Yeah, but that's the whole spider thing. I was like, oh yeah. So people were disappearing because of that. The initial one where you were slipped a note, I was just trying to get you involved in the Glom situation in a different path. Because this space is so open and empty and stuff, it makes sense that he could show up ahead of time and take people if he needed to, 1 or 2, because that's what he was doing when Fair met him. He had set up a bunch of information at different towns saying like, hey, there's great opportunity, there's great business at another town, you just got to travel. And he spread that information at a bunch of towns nearby so that young people would travel along the road to go and look for opportunities, and then he would snatch them on the road and use their souls to fund his business of souls stealing and stuff like that.
Damn.
Okay.
So that's really where they were going, and that was going to lead you to the seedy underbelly that would get you in touch with the assassins in a different path besides the House of Note.
Cool.
And Shoel Gath is a mix of Machin Shin and Eridhol from the Wheel of Time. Obviously, you don't probably know what those are, but Machin Shin is a black wind that stalks the pathways in between. Like you not teleport, but you can walk behind the world basically, and it's this like evil black wind that consumes your soul. And I thought, oh, that's really cool, but I obviously can't take Machin Shin. And then Eridhol is a city in which it was a bright and thriving city that this guy came to and basically poisoned all the leaders' minds, and eventually the entire city killed each other in like a big battle against everyone else because they were all insane. And the thing born from it is like a sort of like a formless oozing wind thing that's all darkness, and it steals souls of people who enter, and it like consumes them and stuff. So I put them together, and then I was like, what do I do with it? So a couple of your people heard tale of a missing town or Shoel Gath being seen or whatever. I was gonna do Roanoke, and I was gonna have you like visit and find a city with no one in, or like a little town with no one in it, and it'd be all weird and stuff. And then Shoel Gath would show up here, and you would know who that is, but none of you went, so you didn't know who it was. But because I created him, I was like, okay, well, basically I just sit in my car all day, and I'm like, when I'm traveling, and I'm like, what's their motivation? What does it mean? Where is it? How does it work? So Shoel Gath is one of several tribes. These tribes all had differing ideas about how magic would be used. Shoel Gath uses magic to promote singular life. The druids promote, I guess, nature and the world and the health of the world. And then the marked ones promote inspection of and intellectual pursuit of magic. So they're actually one of the first ideas I had. I was like, what if there are people who are tattooed fully all the way down, and their tattoos are their spells, and if you know the language, you can learn the spells that other people know. So like, let's say fireball, that person would write fireball in their tattoos on their body, and then if they met someone else who was of their same tribe, they could show their bodies and learn each other's spells and promote knowledge and intellect and all of that stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, they wouldn't just give that to anyone, so they would hide that from anyone who wasn't a part of their tribe. And
so there's selective exhibitionists.
Sort of, yeah. And then I was like, well, what if someone else got one of them? If they got one of them, they could experiment with all of these runes, and especially if you had the access to the House of Note and all of that information, you could say, okay, well, this has got to be one of these old tribes. Here's all the information on their body. How does it work? And then you would have to take all of those runes and experiment with them. And if you did enough experimentation, you could find ways to make the monolith or make the knife because you did all of this experimentation, right? So a tattooed one could just make themselves look like someone else. You can't, because you don't know the spell. But if you had the knife with the spell on it, you could stab yourself, and as long as it's in you, it works.
Yeah, I think I got it.
Yeah. So that's
pretty crazy.
Shoagath is one of them. Tattooed people are one of them. Druids are one of them. All of these old tribes from ancient times in this little ecocosm thing, whatever it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, there's one last thing that I want to point out that I wish I had an opportunity to use, and you might have even forgotten about it. Sir Peace, the parrot, had a tiny top hat. That tiny top hat had the ability, I don't even remember why I gave that ability, to give life to any inanimate object once.
Oh, dang. That would have been so good.
I wish I could have used it somewhere. I don't know where, but unfortunately I couldn't.
Yeah.
Just put the tiny top hat on top of the obelisk. Or, I don't know, anything.
Yeah.
The obelisk as a sentient object would be crazy.
Oh, man. It would be so randomly, chaotically powerful, but also probably nuts. Because, like, it's carved and stuff, so it would be like, I don't know what to do. And it would have random magic.
What if Sir Peace put the top hat on the princess corpse? Would it be a zombie?
I don't think it would work. I don't know.
Okay.
I think it would have to be like, like a chair or
Okay, so non-organic.
Yeah, I think non-organic.
Technically, she's inanimate.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't know. Things that didn't happen, that could have happened, that would throw hearts to the loop.
Man, what if you would put it on the lechuga, the crystal lettuce ball or whatever? That was so good.
Yes. Well, that was Loto. That's what I was saying. I played Loto for the majority of the time, so I couldn't really play around with Sir Peace and his abilities. Yeah. I basically just used treasure sense for the whole campaign, and then flamethrower at the very, very end.
I was worried that there wasn't enough. It's really weird because I was like, there's too much happening. There's too many places to go. But at the same time, it felt like there wasn't enough opportunities for you to use your spells and abilities and all of that stuff. So I wasn't sure.
That's 100% my fault. I just didn't have the creativity to apply them.
I didn't either.
Yeah. Because I could have used flamethrower in a more creative way, for sure. I could have used some other abilities that I can't remember because I accidentally deleted my sheet. I totally could have used a lot of those. I just didn't really think about it.
Mm-hmm. I think Fair and Nitro did a pretty good job of using theirs.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I also think that maybe, I really like the concept of having two characters here, but it's probably too much for what was happening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, imagine Loro trying to figure this out the entire time. You wouldn't have really had a foothold anywhere.
Yeah, that is true. Now imagine if I was playing with a commune. It wouldn't be two characters. It would be, I don't know, 5, 6 characters.
Yeah.
All switching around.
Cool. Yeah.
It would have been crazy. I don't think I could handle it. which was one of the reasons why I backed out from it.
Well, so all the assistants and people, they rolled like normal people. They're not heroes. So when this person was standing here at the House of Note and you guys were like, okay, we're attacking, and freaking I think it was not Gerald. Gosh, all these freaking names. Why can't I remember? Itro Stewart, he was like, okay, I'm going to cast a spell. And it obviously worked because he's just a normal person. I was like, are you going to kill him or what? Because probably one hit would kill them, but you just let him go. And I was like, all right, cool. I don't want that to be on anyone's conscience, jeez. And then you kill 2 people over here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Loro just spewing flames all willy-nilly. Doesn't even have a care in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a brutal pirate, right?
Yeah. It made sense. Also, I thought you would take advantage of stuff more, and I tried to give you that hint sort of along the way when you picked up something random, and I was like, you got it, put it on your sheet, because like everybody everywhere is sort of has a bunch of stuff and they're selling a bunch of stuff, and like there's no reason you couldn't find a sword that's always flaming, or like whatever you wanted to find, you could probably find something similar, you know. So just because you had the stuff that you had didn't mean you always had to have the stuff, your gear and everything. But you didn't buy anything, you didn't steal very much,
we didn't update our equipment, right?
Yeah. The glasses I forgot about entirely. I don't even know if I had intended to make them work like Aitra thought they worked, but I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we could have done differently. Yeah. That's I think that's what is the best part about having such an open campaign like this. It's the sensation that, well, shit, anything goes. We can really put our creativity to work, even though most of the times I'm gonna fail at using it in any decent and useful way.
Well, what I thought was, I was like, okay, I'm gonna let them do, you know, whatever they want, because that's how you investigate things, but I need you to not go anywhere. And initially I didn't think of the dome. Like that came second or third to my thoughts. And I was like, okay, well, how does the dome even work? Like if I keep them all here, does it make sense? Does it limit them too much, you know? But I can put anything I want inside the dome, you know? So and then I was like, yeah, he stabs her through her own body. And then like after that, I was like, why? Not during the campaign, but while I was thinking about it, you know, I was like, why? That doesn't make any sense. But the king is very well trained. He's very smart. And if he saw a recently dead daughter, he would say, okay, the killer's probably nearby. I need to keep them here. And also, she's definitely evidence. I need to preserve her as well. And his sword would do that. So he stabbed her to preserve her body.
Save from the giant stabbing wound that it would create.
Right, of course. But, I mean, it's not like Sherlock Holmes lives here, you know? It's not like they're getting fingerprints or any of that stuff. He's just like, okay, she's got 2 wounds in her already. I'm going to keep, you know, this preserved so she doesn't stink, because when I initially conceived this, it was 2 weeks long, and the time skips were even longer than they were when we played. And then I was doing research into how long you could stay awake, what would happen to you if you were awake for multiple days and stuff like that, and you start to hallucinate. Well, sure. You start to hallucinate, you are super irritable, you lose track of your surroundings, you begin to deteriorate. And I was like, there's no way he could do it for 2 weeks. It's impossible. It's got to be shorter. But he would think, okay, I might be here for a while. I need to preserve my daughter's body, especially in this heat, in the sun, all this stuff. So I made him choose to stab her as well in order to freeze everything, basically, while you investigated. Because he's smart.
I honestly thought he had some sort of guilt.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. No, I wanted to make it after the fact. After I came up with the story, I was like, well, what's the point? Like, all these stories always have a point, right? Like, what's the point of this? And so I decided that the point was, and Ricky really showed this off, if you all have value and you all are equal truly, is that really what plays out in the world? And it's definitely not, because there are still classes and all of that stuff. So Bisk, if he had gotten to explain himself, would have made the argument that the king and all of his freaking kids were born into riches, were born into wealth, and it shouldn't be that way, and that everyone should have access. So Bisk thought, we're merchants, we're the House of Rope. What we're going to do is we're going to take over and we're going to depose the king. He could still live or do whatever, but we're going to take control of the empire. And that's the way it should be. You know, a common person will take over the empire instead of these rich lords or whatever. And then Iatudi, on the opposite side, would do what he does best, make deals with people. That's why he had a bunch of people there with him. He would say, okay, I'm born into this. I have the most training. I've been doing this since my very birth. I know all of our history. I have connections to everyone I possibly can. I should be the ruler because I can provide the most benefit to everyone because I have the most knowledge. So it would be, you were supposed to be able to choose, is everyone supposed to be truly of equal value, or are there some people who are better at leading because of their birth, because of who they were born to, and if so, should they be the leader? But we never got to make that choice.
If the commune was here.
Yeah.
And the most interesting part is that's the bad guy making the obvious equal, complaint. We're taking down the king because it should be equal to everyone.
I was going to say, could we have flipped sides?
Yeah, so I didn't know who you would support. Shoel Gath can't escape the dome because the magic is used by, or the magic being used is the tattooed one's magic, so he can't escape the dome. So I was trying to get his motivation would be, just get me out of the dome, and then once you're out, find me the marked ones because I'm going to kill them all. And that's his motivation, right? So I thought, who would he side with? He would side with Iatudi because he already had Bisk. He would make a deal with Bisk to say, pull down the dome, make the empire the way you want to see it or whatever, and then I will work with you. And he would be like a chancellor or something like that behind Bisk, or a steward, to pursue his own goals. Iatudi, if you sided with Iatudi because he needed a backup plan, if Bisk didn't win, Iatudi would do what he always does, which is make deals and stuff, and Shoel Gath is good at making deals, so it would still benefit from that. So no matter what you chose, even if you chose nothing, it would be fine. But the way it played out is you were all there in the same place, and Bisk because just like you saw him in the mist or whatever, he saw you in the mist, so he knows that you know who he is. So you sort of always had to side against Bisk just because he needed a scapegoat at that point. Beforehand, you could have sided with Bisk, you could have killed the king, you could have killed Iatudi, you could have done any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I like having this amount of freedom as a player, not as a DM. Good lord, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it became difficult to remember what I had told you. I had to go back and watch stuff and be like, oh yeah, I told you freaking that, and all that.
Yeah, it's freaking hard work, especially when it's not like a super linear story.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for experimenting with this system and all this stuff. And I don't know if it's worth playing in this system again, just because I don't even know if it's balanced because D&D is fully balanced.
And also really complicated.
Yeah, it's also really complicated, I know.
And I'm not too fond of the overcomplicated mechanics.
Okay.
I actually do really enjoy how simple this one is. It's not balanced, I will give you that. It's definitely not balanced.
Yeah.
I remember there on the House and Node fight, there was something that was so terribly unbalanced. Oh, the flashbang fiasco.
Oh yeah.
The fact that damage can only be a d6 means that even something that's supposed to deal just a ridiculous amount of damage has to be a d6 is kind of crazy. I think having the possibility of fixed damage would solve that one issue.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as other balance issues go, I don't know. It's so simple that I think it should be also simple to balance in terms of possible things that could occur.
In the House of Note, as soon as you started, I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go, and then after the first round, I was like, oh, they're dead. They're all dead. Because I knew that there were 2 more on the roof, and there were even the guy right here. So this guy, the guy who ran in and then ran out. Oh, he looks like this instead. Anyway, the guy who ran in and ran out was supposed to be also the one who was playing as Bisk. He just hung out here all day and watched, and if Bisk needed to go somewhere, he would make a symbol and this guy would take over for Bisk, right? And so this guy was going to come in too, and he definitely did. But I was like, man, there's 7 or 8 people involved in this fight. You got Loro surrounded and Bramwell surrounded. They're just going to die. So I waited for the people on the top to jump in. And then they all got flashbanged, and I was like, "Oh shoot, they might live." and then when Lenny turned around, I was like, "Oh dang it!" So then it was too late. I don't think I should have played it softball at the beginning, but that
was a really easy fight.
Yeah,
I guess I rolled well that time as well.
But
I did a lot of damage there.
Maybe it should be to balance it. Either you can AOE, or wait, either you can single target, or you can AOE, but it doesn't do damage. Something like that, maybe. Because if he had flashbanged and done no damage, you would have had a turn where they were blind, but I
just don't know why it had to do damage.
Just because the spells initially, I was like, oh, these do damage. I didn't conceive of a flashbang in that way doing damage. So to just honor what I had already said in all of the theory crafting, I was like, okay, well, it does do damage, but it doesn't need to. You're right.
Yeah, in character creation, I also brought up something that I thought was kind of weird. Is the spells just how strong they are? The +1, +2, +3, and +4.
Yeah.
It still doesn't make a lot of sense to me why a utility spell, how that would benefit from being a +4 instead of a +1 with a lot of uses. So I don't know.
Well, in my thoughts, let's say you were just a utility kind of person, and so you had a rope spell or something like Vine Whip, but not necessarily Vine Whip, that just created a bunch of rope to do whatever you wanted.
Rope.
Yeah, summon rope, right? You can either use it to attack or you can use it to bind someone up. But in my theory was you can use it aggressively in any context as long as you can think it well enough. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So
if I'm just creating a rope just to have a rope, then the plus 1, 2, or 3, or it wouldn't play. It wouldn't play into the spell. But if I use it aggressively or defensively, then it would.
Right. Yeah. And even to the thought that it's not always the same rope, for example. So if you summon a 300-pound rope to drop on someone, then you've used it in like a crazy way that I couldn't foresee, but you did what the spell is: summon rope. You summoned a rope. So if you crush someone for 6 damage with a rope, because you're so in tune with your rope nature and like you love ropes and you wear ropes, you know, all the time, and you got like hemp clothes and all that stuff, then that's what your character should be able to do. You should be able to do damage with it. That's dope. Do it.
Okay. I think I got it. Yeah. It just makes me think that if I want to optimize something, then I would just create spells that would be used in combat scenarios instead of just a fun spell or a spell that is merely outside of combat utility.
Yeah, but at the same time, this dude who ran in and then ran out, right? Itro, Bramwell attempted to charm his mind, and it didn't work. Right. And none of the rest of you had anything that really made sense in that moment. But in theory, if you had summon rope, why wouldn't you summon rope around his legs and trip him and go grab him? You know, if you had these utility spells, they can be used in combat also. Even for utility, that would have solved the issue of him escaping, or you could have crushed him with a giant rope. That would work too.
Okay, well, then summon ICBM would be better than just rope then.
Well, true, but
since I could do anything, why not go for the most combat efficient one?
Because,
you know what I'm saying? It's like, I guess I do understand what you're saying. Like, anything could be used in combat or not. The numbers are just arbitrary, right?
Yeah, for the
effectiveness
game.
In things that you have to roll for. I understand that. That does make sense.
I do think that Bisk touching the monument and blowing Ricky in the face with a fireball should have just killed him. Like, if it's powerful enough to punch through up into the sand and everything so that people outside are aware of that fireball because it's magnified, I think that it would have just killed him automatically, but that's not fun.
I don't know. I think it's fun. I'm actually a big fan of having having the DM have a lot of power.
Okay.
If the DM is a good DM and is more interested in the story and the events that happen and just how absurd and fun everything is and crazy, then I'm all for it. If Loro or Sir Peas happen to be in that situation and just got 1 KO'd by a fireball, and that would be absolutely crazy. And I would try and use that to figure out something. To get knowledge. Of course, the thing that you did after that let the characters get revived was also a good call, I think, for the closure. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Well, I think it was also cool, but I would like to have more a possibility of dire consequences for my actions.
Yeah, I also like that.
I think though, let's say I blast Ricky out of existence. And we're not playing in this system, so there aren't 2 of them. Ricky's gone. Shrimps' character, who she created from Trailer Park Boys and knows all of that stuff, right? If she's going to continue to play, she's got to find some other character or whatever. So for the rest of the session, she's kind of out because she's like, oh, I don't have a backup character. So it would be like, okay, well, you have to make a character, and then because sort of I can't predict anything. You also have to make a backup character and do all the same stuff, which of course you did for this, but it just seems like I delete you because the world deletes you, and then you're screwed.
Yeah, this definitely works better with the 2-character system.
Yeah.
Because I still have something to be invested in, right? The story.
Yeah. I don't want to do the 2-character system again because I thought of something better. Well, something different.
Okay.
If
better is to be determined.
Right. True. Something different. If we do another campaign, I thought, wow, it would be really cool if we did it in pairs, like I had initially thought, because I invited people who play games together a lot, and I thought, wow, it would be really cool if they played like Champion and Steward, and they were both there, but they would need limits because no one else could bring both of their people. So, how would that work? So in the next one, what if like Loro has a ship, right? And it's called the, I don't know, what would your ship be called?
The cashew tree.
The cashew tree. Perfect.
Tree, yeah.
So Loro sails the cashew tree. It has a fortune teller on it, who can cast spells or do whatever they choose to do, right? And then the ship would have stats, and those stats would be grit, combat ability. Frick, I wrote them down. Hold on. Maneuverability and protection. So what's happening is 2 ships roll up next to each other. One of them attacks. If the other one is more maneuverable, that goes into the roll, as well as grit. If you choose to, you can attack the sails of the ship, the maneuverability first, so you can cripple ships first and then take them out. The way it works,
good old bar shot.
Right, exactly. And then also the protection stat is basically an AC for the ship of like a pretty high amount, which I have a way to work out, but I'm still testing it. But let's say it's like 17, right? Any attack that goes over 17, damage is done to the people on board as well, because they're on board, right? So you have to make sure that while you fight, you're protecting the people on board and you're protecting your ship at the same time. I think that would be super cool.
Yeah. It would definitely solve the naval battle aspect of the system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Two people, like making 2 characters, I personally wouldn't want to do that, unless it was like everyone's bringing 2 characters from the very beginning, like this was. Just because I was like, oh, I don't want my character to die. I don't want to be gone from the story. That sucks balls.
See, I guess.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I like having to find different ways of interjecting new characters into stories. So I don't think I would feel like, oh, the story's just over.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and especially with this seagull scenario that you created, it would be so easy to just introduce a new, the same player with a new house. It almost seemed like it was on purpose, that if someone dies or someone's house got wiped out, then they could always join again with a new house. And you know me, I like variety, so yeah, I would also be super down with it if I had to create another house that's just more creativity work, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And I do think this system that I made lends itself really well to, hey, here's another one. We didn't see that coming, but I'm going to make a new house. And every time you make a house, the world is bigger. There weren't any druids initially. I didn't think of that at all. And then you were like, well, I'm a druid and we have this stuff and all the junk. And I was like, oh, well, you're the only person who might even speak another language. So just because you made this character, then there are multiple tribes. There's a bunch of lore. There's all of that stuff came from you going, well, I'm going to play a druid. And I was like, well, shoot. All right, I got to make all this junk. So the only reason that, you know, we continue on with the magic and all that stuff is because you're playing that character. And if you make another character, then the world just is more defined, right? So I get it. And the only reason we're going to a new continent is because you made a pigeon enemy.
Wait, what? How does that have to do? What does the pigeon people have to do with it?
So if there are pigeon people and they're from a different continent, right?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I did say that.
Yeah, so Bisque made an agreement with them to bring them over, even though we're going to learn, I assume later, that they're going to try and invade or something like that. So that continent didn't exist until you said they live on another continent, and I was like, okay,
yeah,
well,
true that. True
cool.
that. I actually asked if the whole world was just a Pangea or if there was any other continent. And as soon as you gave me any sort of freedom to say there is, I said there is. There's another continent.
There is. Yeah. And that's dope.
Originally the pirates would be you remember the Pirates of the One Sea, right? The Pirates of the One Sea or something.
Yeah.
Because supposedly there was just one sea, but apparently there's now more than one sea because there's more continents.
There also weren't any religions. I had no intention of making any real religions. So I asked you all, like, do you speak other languages? Do you have any, like, of this stuff? And he was like, oh, well, we're the Coggers religion. And I was like, cool. Well, there's religions now, you know?
I loved Coggers.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard the name, I just, so good. So good.
I guess it's so let's say hypothetically you do play Loro and there's a fortune teller on the cashew tree and your ship goes down, right? And no one's able to save you for some reason.
Right.
You would come in with a new ship as part of the fleet, a new house.
Well, in this case, couldn't Loro just fly? Unless we were like super far from an island or something, then Loro would probably die.
Yeah, I shouldn't have used you specifically. That's my bad. Okay,
it's a lot harder for him to die.
Let's take the trailer park boys.
Okay, yeah. They seem very disposable.
But also
Wagon park.
Arguably the freest of us all because
True that. True freedom.
Yeah. True freedom.
America.
So let's say hypothetically they are playing on a ship and that ship goes down and they're not saved. They bring in a new ship as part of the fleet. That all works out the same as it works here. The Sigil has a bunch of people involved. Don't you think it's weird to be like, okay, well, we've been sailing together, we've been cruising together. Who the heck are you?
Yeah, that part is always awkward in my experience with our tabletop RPGs. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely a negative part of creating characters every time you get wiped.
Okay.
However, I think it's a small, uncomfortable thing compared to just having more, having more consequences or dire consequences to my actions, right? I like to see me choose something that has repercussions, good or bad, in the future than just choosing something and just keep moving forward. Same pace, right? I don't know. It's just me, I guess.
Yeah, you weren't part of the total party wipe. So just to make sure, Iker, you also agree, even though I killed all of your characters in one hit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've also permaed a lot of characters, so
cool.
I don't know.
It might be an
story-wise,
us thing.
I don't know. maybe.
I like more having a good fleshed out overall story than a long individual one.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about those people who are like, oh, I've played this character through multiple campaigns and it's grown and all of that stuff, because Rue and the Grand Marshal and the Professor, they have this like deep backstory now. They're like haunted by the people who were sacrificed in order to allow them to continue. They have basically a curse, even though they don't necessarily know it, but they could find out through research. Like, those are dope characters to bring into another campaign and be like, yeah, check out all this lore I have and how well I mesh and all this stuff. Isn't that cool too?
Yes, it is.
Sometimes, yeah.
It's just, I guess one way you could go about it is the survival game role-playing server way of having the consent to perma first.
Yeah. Well, I asked you all,
yeah.
Right? You could always like talk to someone. Can I perma your character at any time, or would you like to discuss perhaps fitting into your character, or do you just not want to have your character killed off at all? What's the deal? And just talk to your players, right?
Yeah,
that could be just a solution. Yeah, I'm not saying it's the best one.
No, of course. I asked you all if you would be cool with losing them and stuff, and like I said, I had intended to kill one or two of you. That mechanic thing, I didn't even know what to do. That was super cool. And I don't Iker, do you know like about the magic thing?
Oh, right.
The date?
You told me. I don't know if you told.
Oh, I think I watched the VOD from when I wasn't here. So yes.
I didn't bother to recap it because it didn't matter anymore. The dome was gone. But I started doing that because I was like, okay, this will be like a cool wild magic thing. And then when both of them landed together, I was like, what do I do now? What happens? Plus, you're touching it. I have no idea. So I was like, blow it all up. That's the only thing that can happen, right?
Yeah. But it's stuff like that makes it fun, like a random chance.
Yeah.
I also played it into your investigations and stuff too, because I was like, there's not enough magic happening. So when you investigated stuff, if you were on the right number, I was like, I'm going to tell you crazy stuff or magical stuff or whatever. So, yeah. It was cool to reveal, but it didn't really matter at the end. Well, it actually mattered the most now that I think about it.
It mattered a lot. It was one of the few decisions that had the most consequences.
You're right. All right, well, maybe I should.
And I wasn't here for it. Damn it.
You weren't even here, yeah. All right, well, cool. I'm glad I did it, but I won't do it again because it doesn't make sense. But I did think of cool other ways to. Well, okay, so you mentioned earlier everybody sort of maybe has a piece of information that they may or may not be sharing. Do you think that wound up working out for the actual story? Because, like, I told Shrimps, you pee downstairs, that is where you've been peeing, and she forgot, right? So do you think that works out? Do you think that's how it should be, or should everyone sort of have the same world knowledge?
No, I definitely do like the individual knowledge. It puts more pressure and responsibility on the individual players to the advancement or not of the story. And I honestly think that not advancing the story because someone had an information they forgot to tell is way cooler and way more fun than just everyone having the same information, right?
Okay. Cool. All right. I think it's cool too, but man, it was so frustrating. I was like,
I can imagine.
And what, oh man, this joke I didn't get to do. I'm so bummed. She would have hated it. She kept saying, what's his face? Ricky kept saying, like, I just want alcohol. Right. On your freaking list of houses, one of them is a vintner who makes wine and alcohol.
Yeah, true.
that house is named Grape Upon, unless you say it together, it's Grape Upon. And I was going to play Pierre in the house of Grape Upon, and she hates Pierre. And I was like, oh, she's trying to get the alcohol. You're going to take her to this house. You're going to give her this alcohol. She's going to hate talking to Pierre. It was all going to be so good. And then you just never told her.
I mean, it was just not relevant to any of the story.
Yeah, but
it was not. It's not even like emboldened in my my notes here.
I know, but I thought she was holding out for alcohol with the knowledge of where the stairs were. And if that's the case, and she gave you the stairs knowledge for the alcohol, I was like, wow, this is so smart. This is so cool. And then after like 30 minutes, I was like, she doesn't know.
Well,
all right. I'll continue with that then. Yeah. It was really good. I liked it a lot. It was so funny.
Yeah, we had some really fun moments.
Cool. Me too. I had a lot of fun. Thanks for playing. I didn't know it would.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know it would go this long. So technically, we're at 32 hours of campaign. Well, not campaign time, but hanging out time. So that's dope. 30 hours is a crazy amount. I can't believe that. So thanks. I don't think I'll play Tailspire for the next thing, especially if it's on ships. I don't think it'll work. But they do have ships that look like this, so
yeah, and they're modular, right? You can make them as big as you want, as tall as you want.
So yeah, all these pieces are just oh, hold on.
Yeah, can you imagine like a gigantic man of war?
Wait, why can't I build?
Build 5 rules of cannons. Oh.
Yeah, so you can build them as tall as you want. All these pieces are pieces like this. So you can build the walls as tall as you want. This whole thing is a piece, so you could put it wherever you want. All of that stuff. Yeah. So maybe you're right. It would be more like oh god, I broke this. Oh well.
It's fine. It was already broken.
True. It would be like this.
Whoa.
So instead of necessarily the sand and stuff, it would be like you're on the ocean and these are your ships, and like you see another ship come up, and so your fight begins maybe, or whatever you choose to do.
Can you move these gigantic structures willy-nilly?
Yeah,
so
like
drag and move. Could you perhaps group a certain... Yeah, I think it works. Okay, very cool.
I can also make more of them. Whoop. Oh nice. God. But I don't think I would be moving the ships around necessarily. I could, but
well, I mean,
to do like
would probably be pretty important, right?
Well, they would
positioning
be. Positioning
is everything.
Yeah, but theater of the mind is so good.
Okay, that's good. That's good enough, I guess.
I do think that like it'd be cool to be like, okay, your ship fights this ship, and we discuss it, and that ship's over there and the ship's over here, and then later on it's like, hey, your ship pulls up to a beach or something, and then just like cut this ship and move it to a beach. That'd be really cool. Yeah. Sometimes it's on the ocean, sometimes it's at the beach, whatever. So I think that'd be really cool. So maybe I will use it now that they have ship stuff. Yeah. They just added character sheet abilities, so you can add character sheets to the game, or you can add any link you possibly want. So I could add a link to a Man of War Wikipedia if I wanted, so that we could look at it, or like pictures or anything. That's all been added to the game. I just don't know how to use it yet.
Yeah, it does seem like a good platform to just assist the theater of the mind, as you put it.
Yeah. Whoops, I put another one down here. There. I put another one underneath on accident, apparently. Oh. So now there's 2 ships.
Shipwreck. Hey.
Cool.
It does look like a sunken ship. Look at that.
Cool.
All right. Well, I am going to go.
Me too.
It's pretty late. Thank you once again.
Yeah.
For
Thanks,
the
everyone.
No problem. Yeah, I appreciate all of you playing. Oh,
we
whoops.
will talk.
I hit the wrong button.
Well,
While you're talking.
All right, bye.
All right, seriously, I'm leaving now.
Yeah, cool.
See you later. Have a good
See
night.
ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Holy crap, I gotta pee so much. What a great game. That was so dope. I'm hoping to take all of these videos, cut out all the discussion stuff, and make them available on YouTube shorter. So that's the goal. I gotta pee though, so I'm gonna leave for now. Thanks for chilling and playing, and all the subs and the support and all that stuff. I think that's really great. I appreciate it. I'm sure those people appreciate their subs. I saw a bunch of names that I understand and recognize, so that's pretty cool that they got the subs that were just randomly gifted. And, you know, thanks for chilling and playing, and look forward to more games and VR and all of that stuff in the future. Deuces.
Have hearts. Have hearts. Have hearts. Have hearts.